Hello everybody and welcome to Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. Today I'm going to cover some characters that I have been playing through my Path of the Damned playthrough. This is my second playthrough. The group that I took is pretty standard RPG. It's a fighter, a paladin, a mage, a healer, a priest, and archer. He did take a rogue on my first playthrough, which was a lot of fun. Feel free to take a character on the 5th slot that you think is best. I plan on going through them one by one. There are a lot of characters I want to play, but this time I took an archer, which was kind of underwhelming in the beginning, but once he got this frosty bow, Frostseeker, he turned into something pretty spectacular. But I'll cover him lastly. So today I'm going to be covering the fighter. This fighter is currently just about to level up to level 20. He did okay. There's a couple of errors I made and I want to share those errors with you so you don't make the same mistakes. What a great guy I am. So, he's heavy armoured and he is a sword and shield and a mace and shield kind of guy. And this guy doesn't do a lot of damage. What he does is he engages guys and he defends our back line, and he is the least, or he's the character who requires the least amount of micromanagement, which is exactly what we want. So we want to keep this guy as simple as possible. When we get into battle, we just want to point and click with him and off he goes and he does his own thing. The AI on him is easy as long as we keep it simple. The only thing we have to do with him is a pull, which I'll cover later on. And there is a Mariner's Porridge here I just want to bring your attention to. +2 Constitution and +1 Might. It's going to come in. I'm going to talk about it later on, so just keep that in your mind there. +2 Con and +1 Might. So, I don't think there's anything else to cover here. Let's go and make a character. I do obviously save. Right, so here I am.
Well, you see anything you like? You let me.
I'll just quickly create a new character. Male or female, wherever your preference. We are going to take an Orlan. Originally I took a human. Orlan would be better. He's got a +2 to perception, a +1 to resolve, which is what we want, and a -1 on might, which is fine. It's going to be Hearth Orlan because he's going to convert some hits to crits. The other option is some resistance to resolve afflictions. Not overly important since his resolve is quite high. Single class, fighter. No subclass, knockdown ability, and here we go. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to knock might down to 9, knock con down to 8. I know, right? Knocking con down to 8. What? That doesn't sound right, but with this guy's defense, his shield, his armor, the paladin is right next to him, his regen, he really is, even with low, he could dump might if he wanted to, if you like it a little bit risky. But we'll just stick with 8 a minute. Leave dexterity where it is. Yeah, so the con, he's really going to be the last day anyway, so the con isn't that important. In the beginning, you might find it a little bit difficult. When you get to the beach, what you're going to do is you're not going to go into the cave and start fighting those skeletons. They're going to be a little bit hard on your own. And we're not going to use the NPCs that the game gives you. We are going to go straight to the inn in Fort Maj, I think it's called. We're going to pick up 4 fellow adventurers at the inn. And we're going to spec them to the wizard and whatever classes that you like. And then we're going to go back to the cave and kick the skeleton's ass, forcing numbers, right? So, perception we're going to pump to 20. Resolve we're going to pump to 19. And we're going to put that extra point into intellect. Now, like I said, you could drop a little bit of con if you wanted to and give him a little bit more intellect. It would work if you can get past the early game without dying too much. It's risky, but you know, it could work for you. It won't make a lot of difference in the long run, I don't think. So we'll leave that like that a minute. Click on next. AD to get that +1 resolve to push it to 20. Gonna click Merchant to give him a bit of a head start on some of his secondaries, and we are going to pick a large shield and a saber. Most of the best legendaries I found in the game were sabers. I didn't actually see that many half swords. And I think as soon as I'm not going to go through the leveling up bit by bit. When we get to the next proficiency, next one you want to pick is the mace. Obviously, after that you can pick anything that you want. You can go 2-style if you want. You can go 2-style mace to do a little bit more damage. There are a couple of legendary morning stars which are quite cool, but that's up to you. The only thing I would say is as soon as you can get the saber, the large shield and the mace, you do that. But for the beginning, you probably won't have access to a high shield from the very beginning, but just take it anyway. It won't make a massive amount of difference at the start. Pick it. This is just bounce. Pick whatever. Take whatever you want. Do whatever you want with it. And just click on that to finish it. So, take a little look at the character selection sheet. I think this guy. Look at his summary. So what we got is Might 9, Constitution 8, Dexterity 10, Perception 20, Intellect 11, Resolve 20. Now with the Mariner's Porridge, which is quite abundant, you see I've got 70 at the minute. Buy it whenever you can. Whenever you can. Pick it up obviously. Don't get rid of it. Don't sell it. You're going to be sticking this stuff into you whenever you rest, and it's going to give you a +2 con and +1 might, which is going to push you up to 10, 10, 10, 20, 11, 20, which is perfect. Perfect. Obviously with might he doesn't do any healing, and he does drop a little bit of fortitude, and of course his damage isn't going to be fantastic, but that's fine. His constitution is going to be 10, so he's just going to get what he's given. Obviously he is missing quite a bit of fortitude now, but don't worry about it too much. Dexterity, he's quite slow. I think with heavy armor, plus 55% armor, it drops with sabers for 5 seconds, I think, which isn't fantastic. But again, you know, this guy isn't running around smacking things. He's just steadfast, kind of hit me kind of guy. Perception, 20 points, gives him +20 reflex. You can do a lot of dodging, which is perfect. A little bit of accuracy, which is fine. A good thing about perception as well on a frontliner is he will spot traps quite early. In my first playthrough I put perception on my rogue like you would, which was a backliner, and I found that when I was running through dungeons I was hitting traps all the time because my backliner just wasn't picking them up early, especially with the accelerated time selected. So perception is going to spot traps from a mile away, especially early on. You're going to find all those purple hidden items, which is great. Intellect 11 is fine. He's got no area of effect. If you can get more intellect in him from armor and stuff, it would be great, because he does have 2 abilities that he's going to spam, and the extra duration would help him a little bit. +2 will, not a big deal, because you're going to get it from Resolve. Resolve of 20, -30% hostile effect duration, perfect. +10 deflection, great, and +20 will, great. So he's got a pretty decent head start. As you can see, he's lacking in fortitude, which is missing from might and constitution, but don't worry about it too much, because we will pick up stuff that's going to help, and he's going to get buffed, and everybody's going to look after him. And I think that is pretty much it from the stock. Don't forget with the main character, I'm not quite sure if it's still the same now, it might be fixed in the patch. There are some trainers in the world which are going to increase your passive skills. I think if you retrain you might lose them. It hasn't been verified. I just read it and I wasn't sure about it, so it might be ideal to at least save it before you respec your main guy, because you will lose those passive. You could lose those passive skills. I'll have to check and I'll come back to you on it. So we need to get this guy right from off the bat. You can respec the other guys, but not the main guy, because those trainers that you pick up, they only affect your main guy, obviously. So let's go to leveling up now. This guy's level 1 at the minute, obviously. I'm not going to go through it bit by bit. I did do one earlier. He's level 18 at the minute. So he's currently 18 now, this guy, and he's just about to turn 19, so this is where you need to be. Put 10 into athletics to give him a little bit of a boost on his second wind ability. Put 10, you can put 10 into, you can put 20 into athletics if you want. I did that first. I actually did it on my second playthrough as well. I don't really use explosives. I only put a bit of arcana in my wizard and my cleric. Didn't put any alchemy into anybody. Mechanics put into the 5th character, namely the archer or the rogue or whatever. And he had to be maxed out, but I'll cover that with the archer. You have to put 1 point into all your characters, because what I found was with Path of the Damned, the locking mechanisms were a higher level than the level before, and I found myself just being like 1 level off or 2 levels off. So on my next level up I had to put 1 into all of them, so just be aware of that. It's good to do that quite early actually, because you don't want to be waiting to level up because you missed a bloody locker. It was just too high level for you. So at level 2 or 3 put 1 mechanics into all your guys, and with just 1 in all of them, and obviously 1 guy with max mechanics, you should be alright for the entire game. For passive skills, obviously this is just conversation checks. You can Google what is best if you think that you're going to miss something. On my first playthrough I was worried about it. On my second I didn't really bother. The outcomes are always the same. The only thing that I will say, there is a fight with a character called Nemnock late in game. You can just kill him and be done with it, or you can get a intimidate check of 18, which I couldn't get with just 333. So put about 5 or 6 into intimidate. You can pick up a cloak, which is +2 from the Beasts of Winter by killing the last boss, and you can get a +2 from an item. I'll find you in a minute. And you can put that item on all your characters. I haven't got to I left Nemnock and I'm going to go back to him later. I just don't know if like getting to 5 or 6 with those buffs is going to be enough, and I'll come back to you on that as well. So just be aware of that. I mean, all this is fine anyway. It's just conversation stuff, which is all blah blah. So that's that. So I'm just going to put 1 point into there in a minute, and I'm going to put another point into intimidate. This is the ability tree screen. Now, as you can see, I haven't really put a lot of abilities on this guy because I really didn't want to micromanage him. Obviously he starts with knockdown, which is fine earlier on. You will use it a little bit. Later on you won't use it at all. The duration is quite short. Fighter stance is obviously great. You want to pick that up as soon as you can. Into the fray is good because it just pulls enemy guys from your casters at the back. If they get through your back lines, you can pull them towards you, which is great. That does require a little bit of micromanagement. I tried to incorporate it into my AI scripts, but I had a hard time with it. It was just doing stupid stuff, and I don't think the AI scripts is as good as it possibly could be. So you will have to micromanage that into the fray. This third ability or fourth ability is Vigorous Defense, which gives you a +20 to all defenses for 15 seconds, and then it gets upgraded later on to 20 defenses for 15 seconds, which is fab. And then later on you'll get Inspired Discipline, which gives you 5+5 to might and dexterity, constitution, all that kind of stuff for 30 seconds. Obviously the most dexterity you have, the longer this duration lasts as well, so just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. I didn't find Unbending to be that helpful. There's quite a few things. I mean, all these other things are catered. I mean, that charge might be quite good, you know, but I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to keep this guy simple. I didn't want to be playing with him. I had my hands full with 2 or 3 other guys. I just wanted this guy to do his job and not let me have to be bothered with him. For the passives, line 1, obviously fast runner, makes him more nimble. It gives him a defensive bonus against disengagement attacks, which means that if somebody does get past you into your back line, you can disengage without a penalty. Second line, We won't be using two-handed, so we leave that. Specialized training increases character's action speed while using a weapon in each hand, so that does work with the sword and shield. Equipped shields deflection bonuses are increased and grant an equal bonus to the character's reflex, so it's a weapon and shield style, which is great. Fight against bonus against intellect, perception, constitution afflictions is okay, and something that converts some grazes to hits, which is fine. And this one I think is a one-handed style, which we won't be using. On the third, obviously you won't be taking these in this order, you won't be going this, that you will be getting down here, you'll be picking some of these and then you'll be coming back up this, and these aren't in order. You need to pick which one you think you need the most at that current time. On the third line, rapid recovery, obviously easy. More fortitude, I think it's plus 10 fortitude, it's great. Increases character's reflex defense, which is great, plus 10 reflex. Grants the fighter one additional engagement. You want to get this as soon as possible because you want him to engage two guys. Stop those guys getting through to your back line. Gain concentration, not too important. Concentration, yeah, stops your character from being interrupted, basically. So since this guy really doesn't spam that much, it's not really something that's going to affect him. Because he's got a long casting time, he will be interrupted, but don't worry about it too much. Increase the character's will defense, don't worry about that because we've already got pretty decent will. Plus 10 isn't going to make a massive difference. On the fourth line, reduces recovery time penalty when switching weapons, not too bothered about that. Unstoppable, which is great. Fighter becomes resistant to hobbled, immobilized, paralyzed, brilliant. Fighter becomes resistant to staggered, dazed and stunned, brilliant. Gains additional defense against disengagement, not too bothered because he's, you know, even if he does take a hit if he disengages, it's not going to hurt him as much as it was one of the lighter characters. He could, if you're noticing this happening when you're disengaging and you are getting whacked, you might think about it. Have a little think about it. If you find that your disengagements are actually hurting you quite a deal and you can't cope with it, you might take that instead of something else, but I haven't on this turn. Weapon specialization, I'll come back to that in a minute. Fearless, fighter becomes resistant to frightened, terrified and shaken. We should have a drink, got a bit of a dry throat. Toughness, maximum health. Now we could actually, I don't think you massively need maximum health because health doesn't really matter so much. So you might take that disengagement, but I'd take it anyway. Maximum health. Gain a small chance to completely avoid any attack if you have some hits to crits. Increases the character's deflection, simple. A fighter is perfectly capable while wearing even bulky armor. You want to get this as soon as possible because it lowers your recovery penalty for heavier armor, which is awesome. Spell resistance, we'll come back to that in a minute. It's one we might take because I've still got 2 points. I'm level 19 at the minute. I've still got 3 points actually. Increases the amount of damage dealt by critical hits, might come back to that. A fighter's disengagement attacks have currently increased action damage, don't bother about that. Fighter's maximum discipline increases, we'll have that for sure. I'm not going to take any of these empowered stuff because I never use empower to increase an attack, except for maybe the mage once or twice. But I use empower to restore half of my utility, which is way better way of using it, to be honest with you. So none of this stuff is going to matter to you except maybe this weapon mastery, which we'll come back to in a second. On the 8th line, critical defense, fighter expands extra effort to repel the most savage blows, causing a percentage of all incoming crits to be converted to hits, which is pretty awesome. Tough and Fury, the fighter has a small chance to gain discipline, which is great because we need as much discipline as we can. And increases the maximum number of times empower can be used for resting. Well, you can negate that by actually resting, so it's pointless. So we've got 2 points now. We're at level 18. We're definitely going to take this prestige. And we got 1 point left, and we got 1 point at level 20 as well, so we've actually got 2 points left. So it's up to you what you want to take. You might want to take some of this stuff here, but I would recommend, that's useless. This is useless because you're not going to die that much. To either take, with those 2 points, to either take, what was it? Weapon Specialization and probably Weapon Mastery. If I press next now, it's going to go to the other screen, and I won't be able to come back to the screen. And then when you get to level 20, I'd say take Weapon Mastery, or alternatively, if you want to be a bit more defensive, take Spell Resistance and what was it? Disengagement. Yeah, so that looks pretty solid to me, to be honest. That's a pretty decent build. There's a couple of changes from my other characters, a couple of things I wish I hadn't got, but I couldn't respec him because of that bug with the trainer, and so I had to show you this way. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Obviously, if you think that some things are useless, be free to post it below, and we'll have a debate about it. But that's going to give you a pretty solid, tough fighter. That. If I go to the AI, you know, these two characters are obviously the ones I just created to show you the business. This is my main guy. If we just go to his AI, he's the simplest AI, quite easy. Second wind on all your characters, obviously, because they're all going to have athletics. Second wind on myself, when I get below 50%, I'm going to cast second wind. Not going to stick any priority. I've only got one, so the timer doesn't matter. Inspired discipline, every 37 seconds, which is there. It's always true, and when I'm below 75%. So I don't want to spam this thing if nobody's attacking me, because it does cost 4 points, and I've only got about 11, and so I can only cast it 2 or 3 times per fight. So you don't really want to be spamming it if you don't need it. And with refreshing defense as well, always 2, and engaged by anyone. Obviously, if you're engaged, that could be the same as health below 70. I mean, you could change that to engaged by anyone as well. It means pretty much the same thing. When it comes to timing, obviously you're going to have to play with this time quite a bit. If you don't know anything about the AI behavior, if I right click on that Inspired Defense now, it says 30, but that is base. What you have to do, just get out there, go to character, right click on his ability here, and it says 36.3%. Obviously it gets increased per level and with intellect. I keep saying discipline, actually I actually mean intellect. So anything that you've got to pump that value up a little bit by giving the character some anything with a little bit of intellect would be great. I've got some braces here, give a +2 to discipline as well. But as you can see, I've got 14 discipline actually, so I can only spam this and this twice. Refreshing defense 3 times and inspire discipline twice. I've got a couple of things from, but they're just stuff that I've picked up later on, obviously. I'm not going to cover that. I think, is that it? Is that it? Have I covered everything? I think so. Yeah. Obviously, keep an eye on, there are some heavily armoured characters later on, so you will be swapping between Mace and Shield. Don't forget, you can copy your shield, and this is not obviously 2 shield, this is just a copy. You can just copy there, paste it there. These are the buffs for +2 Intimidate. They're the only +2 Intimidates I can find, except for this cape which came from the Beast of Winter, which also gives +3 Intimidate. So I'm actually getting, at the minute, for that Nemnock check, I'm actually on 9 with the party and the buffs. I think I might actually make 18, I don't know, we shall see. And I think that's it. I think that it's an easy guy, easy character, quite simple. When we get into fights, we won't be messing with him a lot, and he hardly ever dies. Interestingly enough, if I just load my group up here, I do have a Paladin. The Paladin, if you're worried about the fact that he's not doing a lot of damage, it's very negligible, because I've got a Paladin which I've had since the beginning, and a fighter. Oops. And if I look at the party record, my fighter has done 3,400 hits, done 51,000 damage, and my Paladin, which has max 22 might, has done 54,000 damage, so they're quite similar, 51 and 54. 3,400 hits and 5,600 hits, so that max might didn't really make a massive effect, although my fighter did have a better saber on him. But also the Paladin spent a lot of his time doing heals, so I'll cover the Paladin next, I think, because these two complement each other really well. If I missed anything, feel free to post it, and I'll try to rectify it in the next Paladin video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps. So I'll see you in the next video. Good luck.